A millionaire promised to protect her daughter, but ended up giving her his heart too. The sunset cast a fiery orange glow over the coastal city of Beaumont, painting the skyline with brilliance as it poured through the towering glass windows of the 48th floor, headquarters of Cole Development Group. Inside, Nathan Cole, 39, CEO of the renowned real estate empire, stood still in front of the glass. Clad in a perfectly tailored gray suit, he looked every bit the man of power and precision. But his steel gray eyes were tired, as though the light outside couldn't quite penetrate the emotional armor he had carefully built over the years. Behind him, his walnut desk was buried under piles of paperwork and blinking financial dashboards. An important board meeting loomed, yet Nathan's mind was drowning in the pressure of a newly launched multi-million-dollar resort project. He let out a slow breath, rubbed his temples, and reached for the office phone. "Cancel this afternoon's meeting," he muttered, picturing the calm voice of his assistant on the other end. His finger hovered over the contact list and tapped the number he believed belonged to Melanie, his ever-efficient assistant. The phone rang once, twice. Then a voice answered, small, trembling, and nothing like Melanie's. "Are you the man who's coming to take our house?" Nathan froze, his brow furrowed. The voice belonged to a child, fragile but anxious, as if every word was wrung from a heart clenched tight with fear. He set his pen down and leaned back in his chair, trying to process what he had just heard. "No, kid, I think you might have the wrong number," he said, his voice still steady, but not as cold, curiosity softening the edges. He was about to press the red button to end the call when, "Please don't take our house." A tiny, stifled sob slipped through the line, barely audible, but powerful enough to make his heart falter. "My mom and we don't have anywhere else to go." A chill ran down Nathan's spine. He wasn't someone who gave in to emotion easily. In the brutal world of real estate, he had learned to suppress all softness, locking away anything that made him vulnerable. But this voice, so young, so broken, pierced straight through the defenses he had spent decades perfecting. He remembered his own childhood, the nights he and his mother lay awake, fearing the knock that might evict them from their tiny apartment. That memory, long buried, rose up now like a reopened wound. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice softening without his consent. "I'm Lily. I'm 8. Nathan sat up straight, his eyes fixed on the empty air before him, as if trying to see the child behind the voice. Something unfamiliar stirred in his chest, warmth, but also vulnerability. "I'm not the one taking your house," he said quietly, almost as if trying to convince himself. Then, "Can you help us?" Nathan didn't know what made him say yes. Maybe it was the memory. Maybe it was her voice. But he nodded, though Lily couldn't see. "Don't be afraid, Lily," he murmured. "I'll look into this." When the call ended, Nathan remained seated, the phone still in his hand, his gaze lost in the horizon. It wasn't the numbers that haunted him now, not the canceled meeting. It was the voice of an 8-year-old girl, and the way she had awakened a piece of his heart he thought had long since died. The next morning, soft sunlight spilled over the cracked streets of Bayview District, a neighborhood time seemed to have forgotten. Low-rise buildings with peeling paint, windows patched with tape, and creaking wooden staircases stood as faded reminders of better days. It was one of the rundown properties recently acquired by Cole Development for redevelopment. A sleek black SUV pulled up in front of Building 78. The door opened, and Nathan Cole stepped out, his dark gray suit a strange contrast against the chipped walls and the sour smell of mildew in the air. His expensive leather shoes sank slightly into the muddy pavement, marking the first time in years he'd stepped into a place that reminded him of where he came from. He wasn't sure why he had come. Normally, these visits were left to mid-level managers, but Lily's trembling voice had haunted him all night, like a song that wouldn't leave his head. The staircase groaned under his weight. Apartment 3B was on the third floor. His palm was slightly damp, not from fear, but from something unfamiliar. Worry. The door opened. A woman stood before him. Early 30s, sharp brown eyes lined with exhaustion. Her hair was tied in a loose bun with stray strands falling across her forehead. She wore a faded t-shirt and old jeans, yet there was something unyielding in the way she stood, as if guarding something precious behind her. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice low and guarded. Nathan stepped back slightly, raising a hand in reassurance. "I'm not the manager," he said quickly. "My name is Nathan Cole. I called the wrong number last night and spoke to Lily." Maya's eyes narrowed, her lips pressed into a line. She turned slightly and called softly over her shoulder, "Lily, come here." A small girl emerged from the shadows, clutching a worn-out teddy bear. Her messy brown hair and wide eyes studied Nathan like she was deciding if he was a friend or a threat. "You're the man on the phone," she said quietly, but firmly. Maya folded her arms, her gaze never leaving him. "Why are you here?" Her voice was hard, but underneath it trembled a fear of losing the last place they had to stay. "If this is some kind of joke," she added, "I'm not in the mood." "It's not a joke," Nathan replied, doing his best to keep his tone calm despite the knot in his chest. "I just want to understand what's going on. Lily said something about losing your home." He hesitated. Explaining himself wasn't something he did often. "I'm the CEO of Cole Development, the company that owns this building." Maya stiffened. "So you're here to make sure the eviction stays on schedule?" she snapped. "I just lost my job and—" "Mom," Lily interrupted, grabbing her mother's hand. "Don't be mad. He said he wouldn't take our house." She looked up at Nathan, eyes filled with cautious hope. "I don't want to leave. I'm scared, like when Daddy left and never came back." Lily's words landed like a blade, cutting through the air. Both Nathan and Maya froze. Maya dropped to her knees and pulled Lily close, voice trembling. "Lily, don't say that," she whispered, gently stroking her daughter's tangled hair. She looked up at Nathan, her eyes still wet. "Her father died in a car accident 4 years ago. Since then, it's just been us." Nathan felt a tightness in his throat. He wasn't unfamiliar with grief. His own mother had died in an accident when he was young. But hearing Lily speak of her father stirred something deeper, something raw. He looked around the small apartment, cracked walls, worn furniture, a tiny photo frame resting on a chipped table. This wasn't just a unit, it was their world. "I'm not here to evict you," he said quietly. "I want to help." Maya stared at him. "Are you serious?" Nathan glanced at Lily, still holding tightly to her bear, still pressed against her mother's side. "She made me stop," he said softly, "and I think maybe it's time I started listening." From that moment on, Nathan knew he couldn't remain a detached businessman. He returned the next morning, not with a legal notice, but with an offer. One that came not from his role as CEO, but from something deeper, something human. Maya stood in the third-floor hallway, arms crossed, her eyes still guarded. Nathan had just finished making his offer. A steady job, janitorial supervisor at Cole Tower, complete with benefits and full-time pay. "Are you offering me this out of pity?" she asked, voice low but edged. "No," Nathan replied, meeting her gaze. "I see someone who needs a chance, and I'm in a position to give one." She said nothing. The breeze drifted through the hallway window, carrying the faint scent of the sea. Maya glanced back toward her apartment, where Lily was quietly coloring with a set of old markers. Finally, she gave a small nod. "I'll take it, but I don't owe you anything." "It's not a debt," Nathan said. "It's a partnership." On her first day at Cole Tower, Maya arrived more than an hour early. She wore the new uniform neatly, her hair tied back in a simple bun. Though the job was cleaning, there was precision and purpose in every motion, as if wiping down glass panels was her way of scrubbing away the doubt in her life. Nathan passed her in the lobby later that morning and caught a glimpse of her working. She didn't notice him, but he paused, watching for a moment, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel like the boss. Later that week, Lily began showing up after school. She skipped through the hallways with a small backpack and squeaky sneakers, bringing energy into the polished silence of the tower. "Uncle Nathan," she called when she spotted him stepping off the elevator. "I got an A in math today." Nathan blinked, a little caught off guard, then smiled faintly. "That's impressive. Does that earn you a reward?" "A whale-shaped cookie?" She tilted her head, eyes gleaming. "Deal," he nodded, "but only if I get half." From that day on, Lily became a bright presence in Nathan's otherwise sterile world. She often waited in the lobby or sat in his office, coloring or chatting about her day. One afternoon, as Nathan showed a blueprint for the resort to a colleague, Lily asked curiously, "If you build too high, do the clouds get sad?" The question made him laugh, a real laugh, unexpected and warm. Gradually, he began to grow used to Lily's laughter and to Maya's quiet footsteps in the polished corridors. Something inside him was shifting, not loud, but undeniable. Days passed slowly, yet warmly, at Cole Tower. Lily had grown used to calling Nathan Uncle Nathan, and even Maya, though still guarded, couldn't deny that something was changing in their lives. But sometimes new connections stir up old memories. And one day, as Maya quietly worked her shift, an old photo buried deep within a dusty drawer on the 48th floor would open a door to a past no one saw coming. One afternoon, while Maya was cleaning the old executive office on the 48th floor of Cole Tower, once the original office of the company's founders, she stumbled upon something forgotten. The room was thick with dust. As Maya opened the bottom drawer of a wooden cabinet, her hand brushed something firm and cold. She pulled it out, a weathered wooden photo frame chipped along the edges. She wiped the glass clean with her sleeve. The photo came into focus. Two young men standing on a beach, laughing under the sun. One of them was clearly Nathan, his hair tousled by the wind, a rare, bright smile lighting up his face. The other? Maya froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Ethan. The same eyes. That same crooked smile she once traced with her fingertips under the sun. The man she had once loved with her whole heart. The man who had held her hand by the ocean, promised her everything, and then disappeared forever in a tragic accident. A sharp ache pulsed through her chest. She stood motionless, heart racing. Never had she imagined she'd see Ethan's face again, least of all in a photo inside Nathan Cole's building. A small voice broke the silence. "Mom, that's Dad." Lily stood a few steps away, her eyes fixed on the picture. "I remember him, from the old photo you used to hide in the drawer." Maya knelt down, arms circling her daughter, hands trembling. "Are you sure, baby?" she whispered, voice cracking. Lily nodded slowly, tears glimmering. "Daddy Ethan, I remember his face in my dreams." At that moment, the office door opened. Nathan stepped inside and stopped cold. His gaze landed on the frame. His face paled. "Ethan," he breathed. "You knew him?" Maya asked, barely holding it together. Nathan approached slowly, like he was walking into the past itself. He sat down heavily, eyes locked on the photo, then drifted to Lily, still clutching Maya's hand. "We were best friends," he said, his voice unsteady. "We built Cole Development together, but I had no idea he had a child." "He didn't know," Maya said quietly, a tear slipping down her cheek. "We broke up right before I found out. I was going to tell him, but he was gone." Nathan closed his eyes. He remembered Ethan laughing on the beach, talking about the future, and that one offhand remark, "If anything happens to me, you'll look after what I leave behind, right?" Nathan had laughed it off then. They were young, invincible. But now, staring into Lily's eyes, Ethan's eyes, he felt his heart split open. He pressed a hand to his chest, where guilt and grief weighed heavy. All the years he hadn't known, all the questions he never asked. And here she was, Ethan's daughter. "I'll protect her," Nathan said, turning to Maya. His voice no longer belonged to a CEO, but to a friend, someone trying to make amends for what was lost. Not just for Ethan, but because she deserves someone who won't walk away. After that afternoon, everything inside Nathan shifted. He no longer saw Lily as a stranger's child, but as a part of a past he didn't know he had lost. Just as he started to open his heart, the past came knocking, not through memories, but through something far more dangerous and real. Nathan sat in silence inside his office, dusk spilling gold across the dark wood desk. In front of him lay a thick legal folder, neatly compiled by Martin Hale, his longtime personal attorney. Martin, his silver hair combed back, his calm voice seasoned by years of experience, set the folder down slowly. "I reviewed Ethan's will, just like you asked," he began, his tone steady. Nathan didn't speak, he simply nodded. He had called Martin the very night after learning the truth about Lily. He didn't want closure, he wanted protection. Martin flipped to a marked page and tapped it gently. Ethan left his entire 15% stake in coal development to his legal heir. At the time of his death, there were no records of children or a spouse, so the shares were placed under your management as co-founder. Nathan looked up sharply. "So if Lily is confirmed as his biological child, she becomes the rightful owner," Martin finished, "and would have full control over those shares." Nathan's hands clenched. He understood what that meant. 15% didn't seem like much on its own, but in the hands of Gregory Vance, it was ammunition. A weapon that could be used to take everything. Martin continued, "I have reason to believe Gregory already knows. Word is, he's been reaching out to Ethan's paternal relatives, distant family living in the suburbs, people who had little to no contact with him during his life." Nathan closed his eyes, his expression darkening. What's he after? "Guardianship," Martin replied simply. "If Lily is proven to be Ethan's daughter and Maya lacks legal resources, Gregory could push to have the relatives named as guardians, giving him access to the shares through them." Anger surged in Nathan's chest, not over the shares, but over the cruelty. Lily, barely 8 years old, was being dragged into a game she didn't even understand. "How many people know about this?" he asked, voice low. "Just you, me, and a few people involved with the original will," Martin said. "But Gregory's sharp. If he gets to Maya or Lily through those relatives, this could escalate fast." Nathan rose, walking to the window. The city of Baymont glittered beneath him. Construction cranes, high-rises, lights shining from new developments. Dreams he and Ethan once built from nothing. But right now, what made his chest feel heavy wasn't stock values. It was Lily's innocent face, the way she'd smiled when she called him Uncle Nathan, now threatened by greed and unfinished business. "She can't fall into his hands," Nathan said firmly. "I won't allow it." Martin's brow furrowed. "If he moves quickly, you're not just risking control of the company. You're risking losing her and Maya." "Then I won't let him get ahead of me," Nathan replied, voice cold and steady. "I'll do whatever it takes to keep them safe." Determination alone wasn't enough. Nathan knew this wouldn't be a battle fought on paper. It would be waged in court. And this time, the enemy wasn't just Gregory. It was a past left unresolved, now clawing its way back with legal force. The news that Lily was Ethan's daughter had finally leaked. Just a week after Nathan's meeting with Martin, Maya received a letter addressed to her old residence. The sender, Ronald and Margaret Brooks, an older couple, relatives from Ethan's paternal side. "Nathan, Gregory has made his move," Martin said flatly. "He's officially backing Ronald and Margaret Brooks, Ethan's paternal aunt and uncle, in a petition for custody of Lily." Nathan's grip on the phone tightened. "On what grounds?" "Biological relation. They claim Maya isn't married to Ethan, has no legal guardianship, and lacks financial stability. It's clear Gregory is behind this." A pause. "If we don't act quickly, they could take Lily." Nathan dropped his head into his hands. He had no more time to delay. The truth had to come out. Everything. That evening, in Maya's small apartment, Nathan stood by the door with the weight of the world in his eyes. Maya was tidying Lily's toys. The girl was asleep on the sofa, curled around her teddy bear. "We need to talk," Nathan said, voice hoarse. Maya looked up, cautious. "About what?" "About Lily and Ethan." He sat down and placed a folder on the table. Maya leaned forward, and when she saw the heading, "Petition for Guardianship, Ronald and Margaret Brooks," her face hardened. "What is this?" Nathan exhaled. "They're Ethan's relatives, and Gregory Vance is funding their legal campaign to take custody of Lily." "Gregory? What does he want?" "He wants Ethan's 15% stake in coal development. If they gain custody, they control Lily's shares. And with that, Gregory gains the leverage he's always wanted." Maya stood, shaking. "And how long have you known this?" A beat, then, "Since before the court ruling?" "You didn't tell me?" Her voice shook, more hurt than angry. "After everything, after Lily started calling you Uncle Nathan, you still kept this from me?" Nathan clenched his fists. "I was afraid if I told you you'd run, but now we have no choice but to fight." Maya turned away, tears falling. Then she whispered, "I've lived in shelters, gone days without food, all to protect her." She faced him again, voice steely. "And now they want to take her? Over a name in a will? No, I won't let that happen." She stepped closer. "We're going to fight, and I don't need you to fight for me. I need you to fight with me." Nathan nodded, and for the first time, he saw Maya not just as a mother, but as a warrior. "I won't let them touch her, not while I still have breath." But that night, Maya lay next to Lily, brushing the child's hair back gently. "You're all I have," she whispered, "and I'll never let you go." In the living room, Nathan sat alone, eyes fixed on the folder of legal filings. He knew this wasn't just about custody anymore. It was about protecting the last piece of Ethan left in this world. And maybe the last part of himself that still remembered how to love. The Baymont County Courthouse stood in the heart of the city, a stone relic among towering glass buildings, like a scar from another era. On the day of the hearing, the sky was gray, and a thin fog clung to the windows, echoing the heaviness in Maya's chest. Maya sat silently inside the courtroom, her hand clutching Lily's, who sat between her and Nathan. Though still a child, Lily sensed the weight in the air. She didn't ask many questions. She simply held on to her mother, as if by instinct. Across the aisle, Ronald and Margaret Brooks arrived in formal attire, flanked by two black-suited lawyers, representatives from the law firm funded by Gregory Vance. They didn't need to speak. The way they looked at Maya said everything. The judge, old and stern, raised his hand. The hearing began. The Brooks attorney, a man named Thomas Granger, stood and opened with a sharply worded statement. "Your Honor, my clients, Mr. and Mrs. Brooks, are the only living paternal relatives of Ethan Brooks, the child's biological father. They possess financial stability, own a home, and have extensive experience raising children. By contrast, Ms. Maya Rivera, who claims to be the child's mother, was never legally married to the father, holds no formal custody papers, and has a history of financial instability and housing insecurity. A murmur swept through the courtroom. Maya lowered her head, holding back the tremble in her chest. Nathan gently placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Thomas pressed on. The child deserves a secure future, not a life with a mother whose past includes joblessness and homelessness. My clients are fully prepared to offer her a better life. Then came Janice Wu, Maya and Nathan's lawyer, calm, firm, and unshaken. Your Honor, we do not deny the blood relation between the plaintiffs and the child. But custody is not decided by genetics alone. It must be based on love, connection, and what is in the best interest of the child. She paused, glancing toward Maya, still holding her daughter's hand, then turned to the judge. Maya Rivera has raised Lily from birth. She never abandoned her child. She never sought state aid or handed Lily over to any agency. She fought alone for this child's well-being. Janice's tone sharpened. More importantly, we have reason to believe this custody petition was not driven by family care, but by financial motivation. Gregory Vance, the second-largest shareholder in Cole Development, has been funding this legal effort. Gasps rippled through the room. Ronald Brooks stood in protest, but the judge motioned for silence. Janice continued. Ethan Brooks, Lily's biological father, left 15% of the company's shares to his legal heir. If the Brooks couple gains custody, they will legally represent Lily's holdings. That would directly benefit Gregory Vance's attempt to consolidate control over the company. She raised her voice slightly. This is not a family dispute. It's corporate manipulation in disguise. The courtroom grew still. Then Nathan rose. My name is Nathan Cole. I co-founded Cole Development and was Ethan's closest friend, he began. He once told me, if anything happened, I was to protect what mattered most to him. He looked at Lily, then back to the judge. Lily is not stock. She is not a trophy. She is a child deserving of love, not to be fought over by people who see her as a business asset. Toward the end of the hearing, the judge remained quiet for a long time. He looked at Maya, her forehead beaded with sweat, her eyes steady. Then to Lily, still seated between her mother and Nathan, wide-eyed but calm. His verdict rang out clearly through the silent courtroom. This court rules, Maya Rivera shall retain full legal custody of Lily Brooks. Nathan Cole is hereby appointed as legal co-guardian. Ronald and Margaret Brooks are granted supervised visitation rights on a scheduled basis. The room buzzed with murmurs. Maya held Lily tight, tears falling freely at last. Nathan, seated beside her, exhaled, but said nothing. He looked at Lily with a gaze full of more than just protection. It held responsibility, affection, and a quiet grief for a lost friend. Lily turned, wrapping her arms around her mother's neck, then leaned close to Nathan and whispered, Now, you're my family too, right? Nathan nodded, eyes moist. Yes, and I always will be. After the trial, no one said it aloud, but they all knew. Something had changed. A week after the verdict, Nathan returned to his luxury apartment on the 48th floor of Cole Tower, a space once occupied only by him, architectural models, and cold glass walls. But this time, he didn't return alone. He invited Maya and Lily to move in, not out of pity, but because of something that had already grown deeper than reason, a quiet, unnamed bond. At first, Maya refused. She was used to independence, to small, cramped spaces that were hers alone. But after several sleepless nights, and after watching Lily grow more attached to Nathan, she said yes. Maybe. A roof didn't have to mean fear. Nathan's apartment, with its muted tones, soft lighting, and a balcony that opened out to the sea, suddenly felt transformed by the sound of a child's laughter. Lily ran from room to room, naming every pillow and plant. She started calling Nathan Uncle Nathan as if it were second nature, but in her eyes he was already a father figure. Uncle Nathan, "Can I sleep in your office tonight? Your chair spins so fun." "Uncle Nathan, do you know how to make pancakes? My mom makes the best ones ever." Nathan, once a man who scheduled every minute of his day, now spent hours listening to Lily talk about nail polish colors, half-finished drawings, or her imaginary neighbor's cat. As for Maya, she kept her distance. She was grateful. She appreciated everything, but inside her still lived a quiet fear she couldn't quite name. Her past had taught her that peace could be stolen in an instant. She had opened her heart before and lost everything. Nathan didn't push. He didn't pry or try to force closeness. He simply did small things, made coffee the way Maya liked, added extra towels in the guest bathroom, placed a little shelf where she could keep her nighttime books. One evening, after Lily had gone to bed, Maya stood alone on the balcony, the ocean breeze cold against her skin. Nathan stepped out, keeping his distance, and said softly, "You don't have to trust me quickly. I just want you to know you're not alone anymore." Maya didn't answer right away, but for the first time, she didn't turn away. She stayed still, letting the wind move through her tangled hair and let his quiet presence remain beside her. Maybe building a family doesn't start with promises. Maybe it starts when someone chooses to stay. Every day in the 48th floor apartment passed like a lullaby. But for those who've been hurt before, peace is always fragile. And just as Maya feared, it didn't last long. One early weekday morning, Nathan found an envelope on his office desk. No return address. Inside was a copy of an unpublished document, the legal proof that Lily was the rightful heir to Ethan Brooks's shares in Cole Development. It came with a small note, handwritten in sharp ink. "Choose. Abandon the East Point Resort project or let the world know who really holds the shares." G.V. Nathan gripped the paper, his chest tightening like the cold air outside. Gregory had played his final card, not with legal tactics, but through public pressure. If this got out, Lily would become a media target, dragged into the corporate spotlight Ethan had always tried to shield her from. Nathan could walk away from the project. He could give in. But that would cost him the dream he and Ethan had built together and leave Lily to pay a price she didn't deserve. That night, Nathan stood on the balcony, taking his first deep breath in weeks. Maya stepped out behind him, worry in her eyes. "Something's wrong, isn't it?" she asked gently. Nathan turned. His eyes had lost their usual calm. He didn't answer with words. He simply placed the threatening note in her hand. Maya scanned it quickly, then clenched the paper in her fist. "What are you going to do?" Nathan looked into her eyes, deeper and more vulnerable than ever before. "I won't compromise," he said. "I let Ethan go with too many things left unprotected. I won't do that again, with you or with Lily." He stepped closer, crossing the final distance Maya had guarded so tightly with her past. "You and Lily, you're not a burden, you're the family I choose." Maya fell silent. For the first time, her walls cracked, not because of promises, but because of presence, because this man wasn't running away when things got hard. That weekend, Nathan took Maya and Lily to East Point Beach, the same place where he and Ethan once dreamed up their vision of a resort immersed in nature. The sea breeze was soft, the sunset glowing gold across the waves. Lily sat in the sand, focused on a drawing with her colored pencils. Maya stood nearby, watching her daughter with quiet affection. Nathan walked over, holding a small velvet box in his hand. "Lily, what are you drawing?" he asked, crouching beside her. "I'm drawing us." Lily beamed. "This is me, this is Mommy, and this is Uncle Nathan holding Mommy's hand." She held up the picture. 3 people by the ocean, hand in hand, the sunset behind them in bright orange. Nathan swallowed hard. He turned to Maya, no longer just a single mother, but the heart of a small, growing family. He knelt down and opened the velvet box. Inside was a simple silver ring, elegant, quiet. steady. "Maya Rivera," he said, his voice soft as the tide, "I can't promise to fix every piece of your past, but I can promise not to leave. I'll stay, every day. You and Lily are what I choose, always." Maya stood still, eyes shimmering in the amber light. A breath caught in her throat. Then she nodded, slow but certain, tears glistening like salt water in the setting sun. Lily shouted, "You said yes, right, Mommy?" The three of them wrapped into a hug on the sand, Lily's messy hair dancing in the breeze, the sun setting gently behind them, like a quiet blessing for a family built not from blood, but from choice. The evening sun settled gently over East Point Beach, casting golden light across the soft sand. Three figures sat together on a large blanket, one man, one woman, and a little girl with vanilla ice cream smeared across her cheek. "Uncle Nathan, hurry! Your ice cream is melting!" Lily giggled, waving her tiny spoon in the air. Nathan laughed. He leaned down to lick the dripping cone, eyes never leaving the two people beside him. Maya glanced at him, her gaze soft and calm. She didn't say a word, just leaned gently against his shoulder as if she had finally found home. A light ocean breeze passed through, carrying the sound of waves and the familiar scent of salt water. Nathan closed his eyes. In that moment, he understood. He was no longer the man who once lived only for power, no longer the one who stood at the top, with no one to share it with. He had found what mattered most, not shares, not legacy, but a home, with laughter, with tiny arms that wrapped around his neck, and with someone who waited for him to come back.